name is Jeremiah Chase Everman. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. Um, this is my testimony of how I found God and how God has found me and how my life has ultimately changed for the better since the beginning of my walk, which has been roughly a little over 3 months. From South Carolina, I grew up in a home that was damaged early. My father left when I was 5 and never returned. He overdosed whenever I was 11 in Michigan. I never got to know the man the way I wanted to. How much can you know somebody at 5 years old? And then, through those years from 5 to 11, we moved around a lot in elementary school. A lot of short-term friends and a lot of things that never lasted long. A lot of father wounds that happened. From there, my mother settled down with a man. I lived with him for about 4 years. And this man, after she separated from him because he was controlling, murdered her at 14 years old. I was 14, I was asleep. My Uncle David saved my life. I woke up to gunshots and I had to run into the room, and he comes out when I wake up. I thought a picture fell, someone was banging on the door. And from that moment, I was just shocked. I could not capture reality. He said, "Your mother's been shot." I ran in there, and her and her new boyfriend were just bleeding on the beds. And I was taking rags and stuff from bullet holes. I was 14 years old, I was just a kid. Excuse me, I'm going to put my phone on silent so we don't have no interruptions here. And so while the gun goes flying across the kitchen floor, they wrestle outside. He takes care of it. The man who killed my mother speeds off. Scully broken shambles. I'm an orphan. I was very strong in my faith at the time. My mother established that with me. So I walked with God all the way up till I was 16. I had a strong faith, and then moved 6 different high schools. And I got away from God as I had no guidance. I had no one to really steer me in the right direction. And so for 10 years, I was dead. From the time I was 17 till I was 27, I became agnostic. And during those years, I had 2 beautiful children out of wedlock. Wasn't something I was anticipating happening so soon, and it was a 6-year relationship that I didn't really want to continue because we were not happy. There was no God-centered relationship, period. So it was very unhealthy and toxic. So after we separated, at that time, I just broke down. I always used to having little feet in the house. As being a musician, I stopped playing music and being a teacher of music, and began working with my hands. Became a plumber and a handyman. Turned into a contractor. Was very successful. Had a nice house. I had everything. I've had my life. I had a lot of things, but I did not have God. And I look back now thinking I had something, but I had nothing without God. And during this transformation, I realized that I was missing that, and I'd rather be broke than not be fundamentally sound with the Spirit of Jesus, and that's what I did not have. And through this time of separation, I was just very sad. I had a 2-story house, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. I had my own barn. I had a horse. I had a Rottweiler. I had 2 kittens. I mean, everything, whole kitten caboodle, everything you could, I lived on a pond. I mean, it was just beautiful, where I lived. And I just sank into depression, into sadness. And as well as my father overdosing, I had my aunt overdose from heroin. I had my uncle end up being brain dead, who saved my life from heroin. And so I was very resilient to save from drugs and alcohol. But after my children left, I became a very heavy drinker. turned into an alcoholic, and I was just drunk, just sad and just miserable. And then I had a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. As a good friend of mine I fell in love with. Then from like 10 years old, she was an artist, graduate from USC, but she had an addiction problem. And I took care of her daughter while she went and got help for 6 months. And during those 6 months, we separated because we didn't be real close before she left for rehab. She left from South Carolina, actually came to Florida, and family was scared at the end of these 6 months because she relapsed. So I came down to Florida and picked her up, brought her back to South Carolina, and during that time, I didn't really, mess with her. We didn't have really no relationship, not even a platonic one. We weren't even really friends. And 2 months went by, and we hooked back up. We ended up being back in a relationship together. And for like 7 months, I was trying my best to keep her from getting high and from doing drugs. And she was an IV user. She was putting needles in her arm, and I would talk to her like, I can't believe you're doing this, and it just broke my heart. She would just disappear for days. A little daughter missing her, and the father of the daughter, her name was Sophia, was non-existent at the time. What's great is that he's over 8 months sober, and me and him have actually a decent relationship now, and he's found the Spirit of God, which is beautiful. It's really funny how you can go from something so wicked and hateful, and how God can make something so beautiful and wonderful, And what happened is that I wanted to get close to her. I wanted to understand why she was getting high. I wanted to understand why she felt compelled just to use drugs versus to be around love and versus around family. So I decided to get high with her, and it was the worst decision I made. And I'm using all these outside sources to fulfill God, right? I was to feel this spiritual malady within me. And from that on, I started getting high with her. I started sniffing. The next thing I know, it goes from smoking and sniffing to I was injecting a needle in my veins, and I could not believe this person I became. And we fought. We went from a good relationship to a war, just the worst thing you could imagine. Found out later she was cheating on me with multiple men. I just wanted to bleach my body. I felt so gross. I just wanted to cleanse myself, and I just felt disgusted completely. And no children in the mix. Mother of my children being very bitter amongst everything. Just sad and depressed. I went from not having my house, my business. I even lost my car. She sabotaged my car. I moved into this apartment. This apartment was just a living hell. It was just a drug stop. It was just awful. And then we fought so much. It got to a point where I was getting evicted. And then it got to a point where I went from evicted from 30 days to 10 days because of the amount of just hostility. And so I went from 10 days, I had to move. I did not know what to do. I went 38 days homeless. I did not know where to go. My family didn't really want me around because, no one wants a junkie in their home. Nobody wants a drug addict in their home, Family or not, you have to protect your own family. And I understand that. Even my best friends wouldn't want anything to do with me. I was just broken, hopeless, just gone completely. And I fled. I drove around in this 2002 BMW, sleeping in it, figuring out what to do with my life. And I fled to Virginia twice because I have a good friend, one of my best friends up there. I didn't feel comfortable there, so I came back to South Carolina, continued getting high. I didn't know what to do with my life, just living on the road. Didn't know what to do. And I came to Florida. I took a friend to Florida to get him who was using drugs, and got him into a rehab, into a center where he got help. And I went back home. 3 weeks later, he gives me an invitation to come to Florida. And I start my process. I come to Florida, and I don't go into a rehab. I go into a halfway house where basically it's mandatory drug test, and you're mandatory to go to church. But I could leave at any time. I wasn't locked and confined for anything. And during this time, I battled withdrawals, I battled anxiety, I battled bad dreams, and all of these things here. And then it just got easier. Each day I was sober, and things got better, but there was still something missing. And one day I was playing piano at a coffee shop in Lake Worth, Florida. Great coffee, by the way. Common Grounds, represent. It's awesome. Even though I'm drinking Starbucks right now. it's just really wonderful how God puts these amazing people in your life. And this friend of mine, who's a really dear friend of mine to this day, convinced me to let the guard down in my heart. She was very gentle and very kind. And the next thing I know, I was in church one day, not the church I'm at currently, but church I was made to go to. The person who was speaking was 7 years sober, known God for 5 years. And she was just speaking the Holy Spirit to me. Everything she was saying was just compelling me in my spirit just to be all I can be through God. And I didn't know how to accept it. So and I felt the presence of my mother for the first time in 13 years. I didn't know what to do, but she made me feel comfort. My mother made me feel comfort. And this service she was speaking was just hitting home for me. And then I just said to myself, I was like, Jesus, if you're real, reveal yourself, show me. And my walls came down, and I just felt this rush of love. I mean, even when I got baptized, because later I got baptized, a few weeks, maybe a month later, I got baptized. But the moment that I met Christ was the most amazing moment of my life. Because at that moment, I felt like I closed my eyes, and this imagery just took over me. It was like these two big palm trees, if you will, of just arms wrapping around me, just filling me with love, showing me that I'm loved and that I matter and that He exists. I didn't know whether to cry or jump for joy. And I'm texting my friend who's been really gentle about me going through this process with Christ and like trying to help me. And she was so ecstatic. She just calls me. She goes from texting to calling me, and it's just ever since that day, I've been walking with Him. Ever since I've been wanting to and striving to walk, talk, believe, think, all aspects of my body, soul, and spirit, and my heart to be Christ-like as possible. And the more I seek Him, the more peace I have, especially in this crazy world that we live in. That's my peace. If anybody who feels like they're hopeless and there's no hope for you, I know that feels like I was suicidal. I was a drug addict. I tried everything that you could think of. I tried women. I've had money. I've had everything. And the substances of this world not work. And the thing that does work is faith in Jesus Christ. He's all-knowing. He's Messiah. He is Creator. He is the one that puts a smile on my face and pushes me through all of this. And He's healing me. He's giving me to a point where I'm forgiving the man who murdered my mother. I'm forgiving myself for the things that I did to myself. And if you feel like you're hopeless and you don't have any out, and you're just down and you're at your rock bottom and you have no way to get up, there's a way. Because I felt like that. I've been that person. I've been that broken, worn soul, just feeling like there's nothing that you can offer nobody. But He's given me a new life, and He can give you a new life. He can give anybody a new life. Because I feel like if He's given it to me, He can give it to anybody. And every time I think about it, it just compels me because He shows me how much He loves me. It wrecks me every time. Every time. Because I can't even do this video fully without feeling the love of God right now. Because it's just real, and it's honest, and it's true, and it's genuine. I'm not here to convince you or to slap you with the Bible, or I'm not being that type of Christian. I'm just being honest with you that I took a wretched soul and made him a new man, made him a new living, just beautiful person that I am now. And I can honestly say that I'm proud of who I am. And I have an identity through Christ. And you can too. Thank you for watching.